Patrick Williams gives a clear update on his injury status leading into training camp. And plus, we have the Summer League debut of Montas Bucilis. We're going to talk about all of that, plus dive into the mailbag right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. So, Patrick Williams was interviewed during Summer League, and he was, of course, asked about his injury status, and he said this when asked if he was going to be available by training camp. For sure. I'm running and jumping now with no pain, no swelling, so it's just a matter of getting my legs back under me. The bone is fully healed. The rehab process is pretty much resting, making sure that I'm getting enough rest on that foot, going over some things like how you run, you walk, how you run, some preventative things. But for the most part, it's let the bone rest, let the body do what it does. After not being able to jump for around 4 months, the muscles in the leg and the Achilles shrink, that pop that comes with playing a lot, you have to gain that back. So that's the same if I sprain my ankle, I'm out 2 weeks. It's going to take a little bit of time to get that pop back, but that's kind of what I'm dealing with now. It couldn't happen at a better time. This is the clearest update we've gotten on Patrick Williams. Hell, even just yesterday's episode, I talked about, the Bulls and if Patrick Williams' injury concern should be a bigger thing. And, when AK was asked about Patrick Williams and, he seemed like he wasn't quite sure on what Patrick Williams' availability was going to be by training camp. It, of course, raised a lot of red flags for Bulls fans that have dealt with so many injuries, injuries to their players for so many years that, of course, there was some needed concern there. But Patrick Williams attending the game, Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, Dalen Terry, Chris Duarte were all there at the Summer League as well, supporting the Summer League Bulls. But it's good to hear that Patrick Williams is on that path. It's good to hear that he has that clear thing. Now it's just building that strength back up. And that is something. And that's why, like, in saying even something like Lonzo Ball potentially coming back, right, after being out almost 3 years, imagine, if Patrick Williams just for 4 months has not been able to do those things, imagine how much work Lonzo has had to do to get back to the point that he's gotten back to. But this is about Patrick Williams. It's good to hear that Patrick Williams is going to be ready to go by training camp and that he feels very confident in that, because with this new phase of the Bulls, we want to be able to take a look at all these young players together. We want to be able to take a look at how Josh Giddey is going to be able to create open shots for his players and things like that. So, you want Patrick Williams back. I know a lot of Bulls fans still don't think that giving Patrick Williams the deal is the right thing. And Bulls fans have the concern, is this going to be another situation where we look back on it and say, we shouldn't have gave him that extension? I'm not too worried about that aspect of it. Like I've said before, even with Patrick Williams being a solid defender that can hit the three ball at above 40%, that's about what he's going to get paid regardless, even if he just did that. So, it's just about staying healthy for me when it comes to Patrick Williams, and he has to show that he can do that over consecutive seasons. Because so far we get one really good season of health for Patrick Williams, and then the season where he misses the majority of the games. Then he played all 82, and then he missed, about half the games last year. So, you want to see that continued development from Patrick Williams, and being healthy is a big part of that, especially now that, we're not going to have that safety net of DeMar DeRozan being there. You want to see those extra opportunities that are going to go to other players because of not having somebody with the gravity of DeMar DeRozan and what that's going to do for them. And Patrick Williams even said that when asked about DeMar's departure, says this. That's a relationship that's beyond basketball. Just to be able to play with him for the time that I did, the things that I learned from him and took from him, he knows I'm going to use it this upcoming year and the rest of my life, really. That's a brother for life. And that echoes what I've said for a long time, right? Is that the lessons that they've learned from DeMar DeRozan are going to be things that they look back on later in their career and realize, yeah, DeMar helped me. Or this is something that I saw DeMar do, right? So it's just about putting it into practice. And so this has to be a year where we see some much-needed development, specifically from Patrick Williams, right? For those Bulls fans that have said for years, well, what would Pat do with extra opportunity to not have players around him that are taking so many shots? One of those guys are now going to be gone. Maybe even another one by the start of the season. I don't hope so. I don't think so. But, overall, this is important. And Patrick Williams needs to be healthy and ready to go. So him going through the work part of it, to put that extra strain. Because the one thing you don't want to do is be out for a while of basketball, come back, and, him saying, put extra strain on that Achilles. An Achilles strain could I know he was just saying that as far as the overall muscle group, but like just don't say Achilles, Pat. Like that's a scary injury for a lot of people. Don't talk about the Achilles, but so hopefully that Pat is just ready to go by training camp. This can be a camp where we come into with everybody fully healthy, and then we can just see what this team's going to be next season. But overall, glad to hear that update from Patrick Williams. But moving on, yesterday was the first Summer League game. I did a live stream after the game, just kind of breaking down kind of what I thought. And through Summer League, it's more about the process than it is about the numbers that you're going to get on the stat sheet. And for that, I know that's a little bit harder for some people, but we still have players that shine on the stat sheet as well. Like you can't overlook the output of Adama Sanogo coming off the bench and what he brought to that Bulls team. And Adama Sanogo continues to just show and prove that right now he is above that level of competition, G League level competition, Summer League level of competition. Adama Sanogo is ready, and I hope that the Bulls really allow him that opportunity to show at least some, right? On a two-way contract, you can still play over 60 games on that two-way contract in the NBA level, and hopefully they use Adama somewhat to see what he can bring at the NBA level, because Adama Sanogo is just somebody who's, you can just look at him and tell he's ready. He's not going to have that same level of output more than likely, the 17 points, 12 rebounds, 3 steals, but he's a guy who is heads up defensively. He's efficient. He follows his own shots, 7 offensive rebounds, 5 defensive rebounds, only 4 missed shots for him in the game, 6 of 10 from the field. Like, Adama Sanogo is ready. And then you also factor in Julian Phillips as well after, finishing the season on the injury report. In 31 minutes for him, 5 of 11 for 17 points, 10 rebounds, 1 steal. Julian Phillips also looks like he's picking up from where he left off. Keep in mind, when he was in the G League, he showed that he was clearly above that level of competition and kind of ready to see at least what he can do. He also looks like he has put in some work in the gym since the last time we saw him in a regular season game. And he still needs to put on some weight, but you can tell that he's definitely worked on his body and things over the course of this offseason. But then you get to Matas Busilis. And with him being the 11th overall pick by the Chicago Bulls, a hometown kid from the Chicagoland area, of course, a lot of people are questioning and wondering, what is Matas going to bring and be able to be for the Chicago Bulls? And while in this first couple of years, it's going to be a development process. And he didn't shoot the ball overly efficiently last night, 4 of 15 from the field, but 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, 15 points, right? The stat line looks good. He just needs to be more efficient. But what you saw from Busilis is his ability to get out and run quickly, him being able to rebound and set up the fast break, be a solid passer in that as well, make really good decisions on where he moves without the ball. And his off-ball defense was everything that we heard that it could be. We just need to see a little bit better on-ball defense. But again, that's going to come with him adding to his body, things like that. But more than any other review for Matas Busilis, you want to hear from his own words. And he said this.
You guys playing the way you played?
A little sloppy. I was also a little sloppy. I definitely could have done way better than, I got high standards for myself, but I think it went well. We got the win, so that's what matters. I let the game come to me, but say my first buckets are always going to be simple, so I can get to like the mid-range and then the 3. But I always start off with, something simple. And some were good looks, some I think I should have took to the basket, but I mean, the day's over now. You got to think about the next day. This is pretty much like the G League right now, it feels like. But I know when the big guys come, those guys that are on contract, it's going to be different.
And so, Busilis said before, we played a clip from him yesterday saying that he just wants to win. They got the win. I like that he understands what he wants to do better. And even saying, once he starts playing against the guys, that the NBA guys, the guys on contracts, as he mentioned, yeah, it's going to be important for that. But you saw the process, right? The fact of what he does, he can dribble with his left hand, the grab and go, the pushing the transition as well, right? So, Patrick Williams, the NBA players on the court side were also impressed by what Busilis was able to bring in that Summer League game. And I'm sure the Chicago Bulls looked at that and said, like, if Zach LaVine's here, Busilis is more than likely not going to start. And his initial position is probably going to be small forward, maybe the long-term position power forward, that's fine. But it's going to take some time for it all to work out. And I think when it comes down to it, Busilis is a long-term project, but he's also one that can contribute now in certain ways, and you got to use his strengths, right? And so having kind of those young players that can get out and run is going to be interesting to see. The Julian Phillips, the Matas Busilis, the Ayo Dosunmu, right? Even Josh Giddey in his playmaking. It's going to be fun to see. I think the Bulls are going to play a fun brand of basketball this year, and kind of learn in a more modern type set of basketball as well. And this summer league game did a lot to show that they have players that can fit that. And then a player in Adama Sanogo as well that I hope is going to be able to be given more of an opportunity. He still has to earn it, but be given more of an opportunity at the NBA level because he seems ready. Is he going to be a 17 and 12 guy at the NBA level? More than likely not. But his rebound, the things that do translate in his game, the block shots, because his timing there is excellent, even though he didn't block a shot last night. His rebounding, on both offensively and defensively, and his ability to play in the pick and roll. So let's hope that that is something that we see that the Bulls continue to grow on and develop on, and we'll see where we're going to end up being. With that said, let's go ahead and get into the mailbag for today. This first voicemail, this one's from Jay.
What's good, Haize? This is Jay. This is my second time calling. I called before with the list of priorities. And thanks for the compliment about it being the best first-time voicemail. Let me jump right in because I want to talk today about a topic that I think is going to be controversial to Bulls fans, but also a necessary one. And the concept is considering trading Coby White at the trade deadline this upcoming year. So I know. Let's start with the good. He's amazing. We all have an emotional connection to him. Either we believed he was great out the gate and he eventually proved that to be true, or we believed he needed to go and we were proven wrong. And in a city like Chicago, that actually earns you more respect, more credit. Now, the caveat to all of this is if he's on that Jalen Brunson-style trajectory and he looks like, he can one day be a top 10, top 15 guy, then cancel this whole call. But the rest of this assumes he does not look like he can be a top 10, top 15 guy. In 2 years, he's not going to be terribly old, but he will be our leading scorer. And that means he'll probably end up demanding max or near max money. At that point, we'll have three options. Either we overpay him, see Zach LaVine, we sign and trade him for like 2 second-round picks, less than he's worth, see DeMar DeRozan, or we let him go for free. None of those options are good. Even if we waited until next offseason to trade him or the following trade deadline, he'd be seen as a one-year rental, and so he wouldn't get all that he's really worth. See Alex Caruso. At some point, we got to start learning from these lessons, right? So what would an ideal trade partner be? For me, I look at OKC. Let's think about why they lost last year. Lack of rebounding, lack of wing defense, lack of scoring and playmaking outside of SGA. Hartenstein addressed their rebounding. Caruso addressed their wing defense. Coby White would bring all of the playmaking and scoring, both on and off ball when SGA is on and off the court. So I think he's ideal for them. Now keep in mind, OKC has more draft capital than they have roster spots, including multiple 2025 first round picks. And so what I think we could realistically get for Coby would be 2 late first round picks in next year's draft, plus either 2 seconds in next year's draft or another future first. My end goal would be for us to get enough draft capital plus our pick next year that we'd be able to trade up into the top 5 and come out of that with 2 top 5 guys out of next year's draft. I think all of that would allow us to really come out with players that could really help us completely transform this organization. I'm running long, so I'll run over who I think we should draft in another call. But wanted to get your thoughts, and I'm bracing myself.
All right, so Jay went from having probably the first initial voicemail that I've ever gotten from somebody to wilding. All said. Like, I understand kind of the thought process you're going in with that, right? But trading Coby White at this deadline with he's on a cheap contract, I can understand it, right? As far as like paying him down the road and things like that. But here's what I'll say. The fact of the matter is, yeah, you got to pay Josh Giddey. You got to pay Coby White if they perform, right? And then, of course, you already gave an extension to Patrick Williams. And I can understand the mindset of thinking, hey, we got to take advantage. Like, we didn't strike before, people's values are high and things like that. But like I've said before, this team is not tanking. And much like I always go back to the Bulls before they got Derrick Rose, right? And that's a lucky thing, getting a player like Derrick Rose. But they didn't trade off Kirk Hinrich until, afterwards when they were trying to add and make it a championship team. But they didn't trade off Kirk Hinrich. They didn't even trade off Ben Gordon. Luol Deng was still there. They eventually traded Tyrese Thomas. They had Joakim Noah. These weren't players that were star-level players, but these were role players that grew and developed in your system that when you did find your star, you were able to have a solid team around them. And so, no, I don't think that the Bulls should trade Coby White at this trade deadline, because what if they do get lucky and get a Cooper Flag? What if they do? Then at that point, you have a team around Coby from basically the 1 through the 5. Well, we still got to work on the long-term 5. But you have a team that can support him, and while he's developing and maybe reaching his heights, you still can't compete. You're teaching winning basketball, things like that. We got to stop being afraid to pay people. Like, there is a salary cap floor in the NBA, and Kobe White's max contract is not going to be the $200 million max because, again, it's based off the last year of your last contract. You can get 150%. Unless Kobe White wins an MVP or something over that time, he can get 150%, which means that Kobe White's max at his next deal, because of him only making a little over $13 million now, is probably only going to be, it's going to be less than $30 million, right? So it's going to be okay. And I understand trying to get more assets. But again, this is a Bulls team that is not tanking. This is a Bulls team that is still trying to compete. And if they're naturally bad over that time, that's what they're going to do. But we're not at the point of just wanting to trade our pieces away just for a bunch of other draft picks. Kobe White is a player that grew and developed over. And like I said, I'm not even going to say that the Bulls may not look to do that if Kobe has a down year or something like that. But we got to stop I don't like that, right? Like, you want to reward players that grow and develop through your system. And the last thing that we want to do, again, is be the team that trades a player away. And then what if we see Kobe White playing in the final? Like, get all your thought process on that. But to me, that's just not good business overall. I don't like that. So, we'll see. And this front office has already shown a propensity to hold on to their guys. I know they didn't draft Kobe White, but at this point, Kobe White is one of the guys of this front office. And I just don't think they're going to want to give that up yet, especially while they haven't moved Zach LaVine, my brother. I don't think that, but hey, you guys can let me know what you guys think on that. Maybe I'm wilding. All right, let's get into the next one. This one's for Mike Jones.
What up, Haize? It's Mike Jones, man. If I sound a little down, it's because I'm feeling a little down, man. I was listening to the Give Me the Hot Sauce podcast with Stacey King, and he had Nick Friedel on there, and man, just the way that he just like took a shit on the Chicago Bulls, but spoke truth. I feel like in a lot of what he said. I mean, and this is really kind of eye-opening, and I know you always say, like, don't pay attention to the national media, because the national news media don't really cover the Bulls. They're not caring about day-to-day stuff. But Nick Friedel went into in-depth detail about the moves the Chicago Bulls have made since Karnisovas and Eversley took over. And he brought up a question that I think you even brought up and said before. Why should we trust them? Why should we care about the moves that they're making and the things they're doing with this team? I mean, Nick Friedel even went as far as to say you were in a better off position when Garpax was still in charge of the Bulls than where you are now. But this whole DeMar, Levine, and Vucevic stuff, we lost all those deals. And we'll especially lose those deals if we turn around and we don't get within the top 10 and we lose that pick to San Antonio. I mean, because that's a part of the DeMar deal. Nick Friedel said, like, he wouldn't have even paid Zach the first $80 million extension that he signed. We would have let him walk in and been better off in a better position than to pay him that first extension, and then obviously the big extension where he's the highest paid Chicago Bull of all time now. And it boils down to, I guess, the Bulls valuing their players more than the rest of the league does. But it's just hard, man. It's really hard to put your trust and get excited about this season, knowing that it may not. You can try your hardest to lose, and still it may not go in your favor. I don't know, man. What you think? Talk about Fale. Appreciate all that you do, brother. Thank you.
Nick Friedel's comments. Nick Friedel has always been somebody who trashed on the Bulls. But the thing is, I will say this. Why should we trust Acme? We shouldn't. They need to show us in this next phase that they can actually be competent in this. And I know some people are even over that, saying that they shouldn't get the chance and opportunity to. But then you got to know this ownership group, they're going to give the chance and opportunity to. But to say that they shouldn't have given Zach LaVine the first extension, that's idiotic by Nick Friedel. That first extension where we matched the offer sheet that was given to him by the Kings, that was one of the most valued contracts in the NBA during that time. And while, yes, Zach LaVine is a flawed player, Nick Friedel is just using hindsight in this one to try to boost his points because he's gotten roasted so much for his dumbass points over the course of the last years. But he did have a lot of validity in what he said in some of that stuff with Stacey King. But nobody's surprised by Nick Friedel shitting on the Bulls. That's literally what Nick Friedel did. That's why most of us were happy when he got out of Chicago. because Nick Friedel is somebody who never really was a Bulls fan. He was paid to cover the Bulls, and that's something that you can know. And he doesn't have to be a fan of the Bulls. He was doing the job. In no way am I saying that everybody who professionally does this has to be a fan of their team, because you don't have to. He's there to do a job, and in some aspects, it provides a different level of perspective that some of us that are just Bulls fans don't have. But Nick Friedel, like I said, I'm not going to take away from the validity of a lot of what he said, especially about the trust in AK. And AK, in a lot of ways, he's overpaid for every asset during that stage of the team that he brought in. He just did. And we got to see what's gonna be forthcoming with that in the future, and we'll see what it brings. All right, let's get into this next voicemail. This one's from Blake.
What's going on, Haize? This is Blake. I just saw the last video you posted about Buzelis and what we should expect of him. Can't lie, after the first summer league game, looks really, really decent. I'm not upset by it, considering he's still getting used to everything. I do like the stat line. I wish he was a little bit more efficient from the field. But that comes with time, just like anything else. So, with going through the rest of the summer league and into the season, I'm really excited after seeing what I saw tonight as far as what he could bring. But what would you like to see from him after this first summer league game? What do you see any signs of like something that could be a problem? What are your thoughts? Just go ahead and let me know. Appreciate it. Everything you do. Peace.
I agree on a lot of what you said about Buzelis' first summer league game. As far as to answer your question, what do I want to see from Buzelis in the next game? It's just development. Make a better shooting percentage, right? Be more efficient from the field. I don't know who we're playing in the next game off the top of my head, and like who's going to be on that team to see what type of athletic matchups he's going to face or anything like that. But overall, just be better from the field, right? Be more efficient. Keep a lot of the things that you did, because it's not like you did everything that you did out there was bad, because it just wasn't. There was a lot of good things that he did out there. A lot. Most of what he did was good. Looks like we play Golden State Warriors today at 10 p.m. Jesus Christ, come on. At 10 p.m. Eastern time, 9 p.m. Chicago time, we're going to face them. So it's going to be a fun game to watch, but I want to see kind of more of that point forward type things from him if we can get that. Continue the defense, right? Better shooting, him kind of getting in more rhythm maybe earlier, but a lot of what he did, I just want to see that continue to be better, more efficient from it than what he was last game. I think the Bulls would be off to the races at that point. But great voicemail there, Blake. All right, let's get into the next one. This one's from my brother, Corn.
All right, well, this dope dude, King. It's Corn, man. Let's get right into it, man. I just came out to Thompson Matt, man. Wonderful day of basketball, man. But let's get right into it. Modest Buzelis, Adamas Nogu, Julian Phillips. I want to talk about them really quick, because I want to talk about somebody else to me that deserves a little bit more light. Them three did good. They did what I kind of expected them to do. Modest Buzelis showed flashes of what I kind of expected him to be. The thing that I like about him the most, particularly about his game, is that I love how he's already drawing fouls, a lot of fouls, his IQ on that. So, and Thomas Sanogo shouldn't even be there. He should be somewhere practicing to be in a rotation. I don't even want to be there. Julian Phillips did the same. But I want to talk about the kid. This one kid that I was sitting there watching, and you said Henry Durrell and Dumas are the ones that you said are fighting for the last two-way contract, right? Fuck that. I'd rather give it to somebody else. And I'm going to give you his name. I am going to show a lot of love and praise, and I want him on the Windy City Bulls, whatever. His name is DJ Stewart, man. You have to be there to see his on-ball defense, bro. That shit was stifling, man. 3 steals in the first half, man. It was really great to see, because, like I said, we got enough offense here, right? I'm not really looking at offense. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at on-ball defending, switching, and seeing what can we do with that. So that's what I was there watching and maintaining my eye on. And to me, my player of the game was DJ Stewart. DJ Stewart, shout out to him. I don't even know the kid. I don't know where he come from. Any of that. Maybe you can put me up on game, enlighten me about that. I am going to look up after this, and see see what's up, But for what I saw today with my own 2 eyes, he was the best player most of the time on that floor, especially the best defender. Like it was Patrick Beverly, Io tight. It was stifling, and I love it. So shout out to DJ Stewart, somebody I know that's not gonna probably make it, but shout out to him. All right, King. Appreciate you as always. Love you. Blessings. Steve Red Nation.
All right, DJ Stewart, because we talk so much about Summer League, I'm jumping right into the DJ Stewart part. 22 years old. Unfortunately, he's an undersized point guard at one of our most deep positions. So, will he make the Windy City Bulls? Maybe. And, that's if another team doesn't swoop him up on a two-way contract. But I won't say he was the best player on the court. That's Corn be a prisoner of the moment a lot. But his defensive instincts were there. You cannot deny his defensive instincts. It's just the fact that we just had, like I said, he's an undersized point guard at the Bulls' most deep position, and that's probably going to lead to him not being, not getting a two-way contract. But fairly efficient from the field, 5 of 16 for 10 points, the 6 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. The stat sheet looks good, but like you said, it's the intangibles that you saw, the off-ball defense, the keeping players from even getting the ball to the player that you're defending that doesn't show up in the stat sheet necessarily as a steal or anything like that. He did a lot of that. And so I got to give credit to DJ Stewart and what he was able to bring for that Chicago Bulls team in the Summer League. And he is somebody to watch out for because he's more than likely, like I said, unless another team gives him a two-way, he's more than likely going to be on that Windy City Bulls team next year, especially when you look at some of the players that we've lost at certain positions. So I agree. DJ Stewart, solid thing there. And I agree with your eye test on that one. Corn, very good player there. The best, but he was a very good player out there. All right, let's get into the last voicemail for today. This one's from Oscar.
Hey, it's Oscar, man. I watched the first half. I saw a little bit of the second half. So I'm giving you my thoughts on the Summer League stuff and the players. Matas, look, I'm not going to get overconfident on it, but I liked a lot of the things he did. You could tell the kid has his basketball IQ. He was attacking the closeout. His ball handling's not that bad. The fact that he got to the line, I think like 5 times in the first half is great because it shows you that he understands, how to take the contact, how to draw contact and get to the line. Adama that kid is, given the playing time, he's going to average between 8 and 10 rebounds easy. But my favorite thing about the whole thing, one of my 2 favorite things was the defensive intensity that the team played with. Like, I get it, Summer League, they're playing against other guys. Some guys are not going to be in the league, but the defense was there. You could see it. You could see the point of attack defense. I don't know how many steals that kid, our point guard, forgot his name, got at getting steals from their number 1 pick in the draft. Bro, it gives you like the energy was there defensively. You could tell the team was locked in, and I didn't see that in last year's Summer League. And sometimes this Bulls team suffers from that, starting out slow, but they were locked in. And that leads me into my favorite play where Matas got the block, outlet to fucking Julian Phillips in the dunk, man. It was beautiful. Hey, I'm excited, man. If we lock in like that, we might not win a lot of games, but it's going to be an exciting brand of basketball, man. All right, man. Thank you.
Listen, Summer League is a place, like I said earlier, it's about looking at the process more than the results. And the process that a lot of these players showed was really, really freaking good yesterday. Like, you can't deny it. Like, the defense from Sanogo is a really good thing that you see there. Matas is like his instincts and intangibles are really good there as well. So yeah, we got to keep doing it, man. And I'll tell you what, Julian Phillips looks like a player that's ready to contribute off the bench for the Chicago Bulls. Like he's added to his game physically. That's something that I like to see. He's attacking more. He seems like he's moving with more intention. And this is just in Summer League. So let's hope that these things continue, that Billy Donovan seeing these things. Well, Billy Donovan, the head coach, Billy Donovan III is the head coach of the Summer League Bulls. But let's hope that it continues. And to see what they do tonight against the Golden State Warriors is going to be fun to watch. And Summer League is a fun thing to watch because, yeah, you can watch it for, like I said, the intangibles and the process, things like that. But while it's a sloppy version of basketball, it's not nearly the NBA crispiness of it, or crispness, whatever. It's not that, but it is a fun brand of basketball to watch for sure. So, but guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We will be live after the game tonight, so make sure you guys stay tuned in for that. You guys can follow the channel at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, The number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. That's thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See Red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.